Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we'll discuss whether or not that most ubiquitous of business outfits, the black suit, is actually a stylish look or not. In the world of men's suits, which is to say ensembles with jackets and trousers as well as optional waistcoats, which are all made from the same materials, there are an almost unlimited number of colors available, to say nothing of patterns and textures. As a general rule, though, brighter and bolder colors are seen as less formal, whereas various shades of gray, blue, and sometimes brown are seen as more formal and therefore business appropriate. On that topic, you can find our video on how to pair shirts and ties with gray suits here, as well as our video on the first 5 suits we believe a man should own here. Aside from gray, blue, and brown then, there is one other color that's fairly widely seen in suiting, and that's black. And while a black suit would certainly be more conservative than something in a flashy color like electric pink, for instance, today's video is going to tackle the question of wearing a black suit is something you should do as often as many men try to. Now, if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you may already be forming an idea of what our opinion is on this topic. After all, we've previously done a video on why we believe black is the most overrated color in menswear, and you can find that video here. However, we believe there's more to say on the topic of black suits specifically, so that's what we'll cover in today's video. Before we get to the main question of whether or not we think you should wear a black suit, though, let's preface it with this question. Why is it that black suits are so widely seen today? The answer has a lot to do with the fact that the typical dress of the general populace around the world, but especially in the United States, is largely dictated today by what famous and otherwise notable people are wearing, be they celebrities, politicians, or people in similar fields. And to focus in on men, what do we see these famous individuals wearing? We see them wearing black ensembles at awards shows, black ensembles in music videos, black ensembles at political debates and other state functions. In short, the color black is everywhere. With that said, though, the presence of black ensembles in these various situations can ultimately be divided into 3 camps: appropriately formal, high fashion, or ultimately misguided. To go over these cases in order then, we'll start with the question of formality. When we see men wearing black ensembles at awards ceremonies and other similar functions, they aren't wearing, or at least shouldn't be wearing, conventional black business suits. Rather, they're adhering to historical dress codes where the formality of black is appropriate. These, of course, would be black tie, or tuxedos, white tie, or tailcoat ensembles, or formal daywear or morning dress featuring cutaway coats. By the way, if you'd like to learn more about any of these most formal of men's dress codes, you can check out the comprehensive guides to each of them we have on our website here. In these kinds of formal situations, a black business suit wouldn't be formal enough in its details and styling, and would therefore be an ill-advised choice to wear. Next, the case of high fashion. Of course, black is the bedrock of the fashion world for both men and women. You don't really need to look any further than the little black dresses that women wear to awards ceremonies or in movies and on runways and so forth. And for men, there are all kinds of black garments as well, like black turtleneck sweaters, black leather jackets, and black suits. As an example, famous designers like Tom Ford and Karl Lagerfeld have made black suits their signature ensemble over the years as a way to look stark and chic. But there's an important distinction to be made here too, and it can actually best be summed up in famous words from another designer, Yves Saint Laurent. He said, "Fashion fades, style is eternal." What we mean by that is this. If you'd like to look hip, trendy, on point, and so on, there's nothing wrong with you wearing an ultra skinny fit black suit, white shirt, and black necktie. More power to you if you'd like to do it. But on the whole, black suits, and especially monochromatic all-black looks, don't have a place in the traditional style canon of the early 20th century, which of course is our focus here at the Gentleman's Gazette. Phrased another way, black suits, black shirts, and so on undeniably have a place in modern fashion, but they're harder to implement well in a classic gentleman's wardrobe. Finally here, we touch on the case of individuals who are probably simply just misguided. The main culprits in this camp are politicians. Now, I know what you're thinking, but hold any specific political beliefs, because that's not what we're talking about here when we say misguided. Rather, what we mean is that most politicians from various political parties all across the Western world, but again, particularly in America, have adopted the black business suit as a sort of default uniform over the last 30 years or so. Why is it that they've done this? Probably it's an effort to look as serious and businesslike as possible. And in reality, while a black suit certainly is serious, it's not all that appropriate for most business settings, and so it ultimately looks somewhat out of place. If we look back further, though, to presidents and other political figures of the early to mid-20th century, we'll see that they weren't afraid to wear suits in various different shades of blue, gray, brown, and other colors. As a notable example here, we can look at President Harry Truman, who, believe it or not, was actually once a haberdasher before he eventually ascended to the Oval Office. So, to sum up these points, the reason that black suits are so ubiquitous in society today is largely as a result of various adjacent figures coming together on society as a whole. With that in mind, then, we reach our main question for today: should you wear a black suit? Our answer, in a nutshell, is not often. As we laid out above, there are better choices for most scenarios. Firstly, formal events should be given their proper due with adherence to formal day wear or black and white tie. On that note, you can find our recent series on the differences between suits and tuxedos, as well as appropriate situations for black tie and white tie, here. Meanwhile, more politicians should feel free and confident enough to shun the confines of the black suit uniform, and while high fashion can have its own trends, we believe that classic menswear follows a different set of guidelines. Setting aside all of the points we've laid out so far today, there is one other major reason why we believe most men shouldn't wear black suits often, and that comes down to a matter of contrast. While it is true that the stark contrast of a black suit, white shirt, and black necktie can have a flattering effect on the silhouette of many men, it's also true that there's a downside to this, in that that stark contrast between the black and white can also wash out the complexion of many fair-skinned or fair-haired men. This, of course, is especially true when out and about during the day and in direct sunlight. Of course, men who have darker complexions or darker hair could probably get away with wearing a black suit more easily, but the fact of the matter remains that for a large amount of men, black suits in the daytime are just going to wash you out. This could perhaps be mitigated to some extent by livening up the black suit with colorful accessories or maybe even a pastel-colored dress shirt. But still, black will wash out your complexion if you wear it during the day. Meanwhile, conventional black evening wear circumvents this issue by virtue of its being worn out of direct sunlight in the evening and nighttime, and also ideally out of harsh fluorescent light as well. With that said, you can take a look at our video on finding the best colors for your skin tone here. So, there's our list of reasons why we think most men shouldn't wear a black suit often. With all of that said, though, here's a brief list of some situations where black suits would indeed be appropriate. The first situation, as you may have guessed, would be funerals. Black has an historical association with mourning, and while formal day wear or evening wear would probably be seen as too celebratory in tone, a black business suit can strike the right somber tone that would be appropriate for a funeral. If you'd like to learn more, you can find our video on funeral etiquette here. The second scenario here would be musical concerts. While the world of classical music does have an association with white tie and black tie that's still ongoing today, a more contemporary and popular alternative to these dress codes has been the rise of the so-called concert black dress code. The objective here is that the musical ensemble look as uniform and consistent as possible so that what the audience will focus on will be the music itself. And our third and final scenario here is in situations relating to religion. Worship leaders, such as priests and pastors, will often wear black suits, as will adherents to certain sects of religious tradition, like Hasidic Jews or the Amish. Those are the three key situations where a black suit could be worn with a relative degree of style. To relate these points on a personal level, the black suit I'm wearing in today's video was purchased just earlier this year. I bought it so that I could participate in a choral concert where the dress code was indeed concert black, and also to attend a funeral around the same time. Finally today, if you've gotten this far into the video and decided that you're still set on wearing a black suit, here are our tips for how you can do it well. First and foremost, and as we've said countless times before on the channel, fit is everything. And while we're usually big fans of a classic, more full-cut silhouette, still in relation to your overall body type, our videos on how a suit should fit, which you can find here, are perfect examples of this, we do believe that a slightly trimmer cut in a more modern style, though not ultra skinny, will help you to wear a black suit during the daytime without it looking like it's swallowing you up. Just make sure that all of your bases are covered in that your shoulders, chest, and midsection are well fitted, and that your trousers aren't baggy or puddling around your ankles. Our next tip here is to try to incorporate a bit of color into your outfit. As we mentioned earlier, the black suit, white shirt, black tie look is one that's only going to flatter a very small fraction of men. Therefore, wearing a shirt, tie, or other accessories that add a bit of color to liven up the outfit will take some of the somber tone out of the black suit. By the way, if you'd like to learn how to use the color wheel to assemble better outfits, you can take a look at our video on that subject here. Our third tip would be to stay clear of shiny fabric finishes. Nothing is going to make you look more like a teenager wearing his first suit than an all-black ensemble in a cheap, shiny finish. Suits with a more matte finish are going to look more refined, and you should try to opt for wool or wool blends rather than synthetics. Also, a slightly textured weave will help to give the black suit a bit more character. On a related note, patterned black suits can look more lively than solids. You should avoid bold stripes unless you want to look like a mafia don at Halloween, but something like a pinstripe or wide check pattern could look good if it were subtle. On that note, you can find our guides to stripes in menswear here, and just keep in mind that if you are wearing a black suit with a pattern, it should be done confidently. Which brings us to our final tip today, which is that a black suit should always be worn with confidence and cool. We laid out numerous reasons today why a black suit shouldn't be your first choice very often. A navy or charcoal-colored suit would be much more versatile and indeed more elegant in many situations. Therefore, wearing a black suit in spite of all this knowledge requires the confidence to say, I know the rules well enough to flout them. As with any ensemble, you want to have the effect that you're wearing it rather than having it wear you. To sum everything up then, while there are certain situations where a black suit would be appropriate, we don't believe that it should be the primary suit in any gentleman's wardrobe. Here's one more reminder today to take a look at our video on why we think black in menswear is so overrated, and also to take a look at our ongoing playlist in the Should You Wear series here, which covers various other questions on menswear topics. It should be obvious that I'm wearing a black suit in today's video just to illustrate some of the principles that we outlined. As I mentioned previously, I purchased it not too long ago to wear for both a concert and a funeral, situations where a black suit can be appropriate. I've paired it today with the conventional white dress shirt, although a shirt in a different light pastel color like lilac or pink might also have worked to harmonize well with my accessories. Speaking of the accessories, we'll start with my bow tie, which is a lavender-colored madder silk with a micro pattern from Fort Belvedere. My linen pocket square, also from Fort Belvedere, is in a color we're calling orchid, and it has light green stitching and embroidery as a bit of contrast. And my boutonniere is a hydrangea, which remains in the same pink and lavender color family. All of these three accessories work to provide some pops of bright color to the outfit to tone down the somberness of the black suit. My final Fort Belvedere accessory today are my cufflinks, which are platinum-plated sterling silver in a monkey's fist knot design. Grounding the outfit are my socks, which are also plain black, and my shoes, which are plain black cap-toe derbies. This black ensemble isn't one that I'd wear often, but using the tips we outlined today, I think it works well enough.